In a sleepy little town where the houses were painted like candy and the streets were lined with giggles and gumdrops. Well, not real gumdrops, just really cheerful cobblestones. Something unusual was happening. Not the kind of unusual where socks go missing or bananas suddenly get spots, but the big kind of unusual, the kind that makes noses twitch and eyebrows raise and hearts thump a little faster. It all started with a strange sound that wasn't quite music, but wasn't quite not music either. It was a hum. A happy, fizzy sort of hum that tickled your ears and made your toes want to wiggle. And it came from the top of the hill where no one ever went, because that was where the Wibblewoods began. No one really knew what was in the Wibblewoods. Some said talking mushrooms, others said trees that danced when no one was watching, and one kid named Benny swore he saw a squirrel wearing sunglasses and reading a mystery novel. But mostly, people just stayed away. Not because it was scary, but because it was strange and grown-ups liked things that made sense. But one cloudy, sunny, rainbowy afternoon, when the hum got louder and the wind whispered secrets that made the flowers giggle, a curious little girl named Tansy said something no one else dared to say. Let S join in. Tansy had the kind of eyes that noticed everything, like how bees always did a little loop before landing, or how puddles sparkled more when you jumped into them with both feet. So when she heard the fizzy hum coming from the woods, her heart jumped up like a popcorn kernel. She stood in the middle of the playground, hands on her hips, and said it again, louder this time. Let's join in. A few heads turned. Benny stopped chewing his shoelace. Zoe, who had the fastest sneakers in school, tilted her head. Join what? She asked. The sound, said Tansy. The calling. Don't you hear it? At first, the others just blinked. But then the hum shimmered louder, and it did sound like something calling softly, joyfully, like a game that hadn't started yet, but was waiting just for them. One by one, they nodded. Tansy grabbed Benny's hand, Zoe laced fingers with Hugo and Miller and Ravi, and together they marched toward the Wibblewoods with hearts full of maybe and what if. The second their toes crossed into the woods, the world changed. Not in a scary way, no. It was like stepping into a dream made of jelly beans and moonlight. The trees weren't just trees, they were tall, twisty things with bark that shimmered and leaves shaped like stars. The ground felt bouncy, like bread dough, and the path curved gently as if it were leading them somewhere it had been waiting to show them for a very long time. And the hum, it was definitely music now. Music that made your feet tap and your knees jiggle and your elbows accidentally do the chicken dance. Do you think we should be here? Benny whispered. We are here, Tansy grinned. So let's see what wants us to join in. Just then, a tree opened one enormous eye and winked. You're just in time, it said in a voice like bubble wrap popping. The Grand Wibble Parade is about to begin. Parade? Zoe asked. With floats and candy. With everything, said the tree, but only for those brave enough to become joiners. What's a joiner? Asked Ravi. A joiner, said the tree, standing a little taller, is someone who says yes to wonder. Someone who doesn't wait for instructions. Someone who hears the hum and joins in. Tansy didn't wait. She stepped forward and said, "Then we're joiners. All of us." With a delighted rustle, the tree opened its trunk like a curtain, and out spilled the most magical parade any of them had ever seen. There were hedgehogs on unicycles juggling blueberries. There were raccoons with cymbals and tambourines dancing in floppy hats. There were clouds bouncing along like balloons, trailing silver ribbons behind them. A group of fireflies spelled out the word welcome in sparkling cursive, and leading the parade was a creature so twinkly and tall and twisty that no one could tell if it was a dragon, a giraffe, or just a particularly fancy balloon animal. It had a voice like rain on a tin roof and eyes like melted caramel. New joiners, it boomed with a grin. "You're just in time. Come, come." The parade only works with enough wiggle power. "What's wiggle power?" asked Mila, bouncing on her toes. The creature laughed. "Oh, you have it. It's in your joy, your jiggles, your hoppy-hop hopes. Now quick, pick your roles." Before they could blink, costumes floated down from the sky-feathered hats, glowing vests, sparkly pants with extra pockets. Tansy found herself in a cape made of clouds. Benny got a kazoo that only played the sound of giggles. Zoe had sneakers that left rainbow trails with every step. The kids looked at each other and burst out laughing. They didn't know what they were doing, but they were doing it together, and that was the best kind of fun. They joined the parade, dancing and spinning, tumbling and laughing as they followed the trail through the Wibble Woods. With every step, the woods grew wilder trees that bounced, puddles that sang, bushes that offered polite high fives. Birds flew upside down, mushrooms popped like popcorn. Even the sky seemed to cheer them on, turning swirly and bright like finger paints in motion. The more they danced, the more the woods sparkled. The more they laughed, the louder the hum of joy. But then, up ahead, the parade began to slow. The music faded. The path curled into a loop, like it had forgotten where it was going. The twinkly tall creature sighed. "Oh dear," it said. "The wiggle energy is dropping." "Why?" asked Tansy, who was still spinning in happy circles. "Because not everyone is joining in," said the creature, pointing gently back toward the edge of the woods. The kids turned. At the very edge of the path stood a boy named Max. He was new at school, quiet and always reading books with dragons on the covers. He hadn't come with them, but somehow he'd followed the trail. Now he stood in the shadow of the trees, watching, but not dancing, not wiggling, not joining. Tansy took off her cloud cape and ran back to him. "Hi," she said. "You found the parade?" "I was just watching," Max said. "I didn't think I could, join." "Why not?" "Because I don't know the steps. I'm not good at dancing or being loud or anything." Tansy smiled. "You don't have to be loud. You just have to be you. The parade needs all kinds of joiners, quiet ones too." She offered him the cape. Max blinked. then nodded. And as soon as he stepped onto the path, the ground lit up with soft blue swirls. A gentle hum surrounded him, and suddenly his book flew open, and from its pages poured a gentle stream of story magic dragons and stars and floating castles. The parade picked up speed again, this time a little wiser, a little softer, and even more beautiful. By the time the sun began to dip and the last balloon bounced into the sky, the parade came to a stop beneath a great glowing tree made of moonlight and memories. The twinkly tall creature clapped its shimmering hands. "You've done it," it cheered. "You joined in. And now the Wibblewoods are fully alive again. Will we remember this tomorrow?" Zoe asked. "You'll remember the important part," said the creature. "The part that whispers, 'Don't wait, don't watch. Join in that feeling. That's forever.'" With that, the woodside stretched and gently nudged the kids back toward home. The costumes vanished, the glitter faded. But in their hearts, a new hum was planted, one that would always rise whenever something curious or wonderful or mysterious called out, waiting for someone brave enough to say, "Let's join in." And from that day forward, whenever there was a new game, a new friend, a new mystery, or even just a new idea, Tansy and her friends never waited on the sidelines. They danced in, they jumped in, they wiggled and wondered and laughed in, because sometimes the best stories begin with just 3 little words. Let's join in.